It's been a wild week in training camp so far. The joint practice between the Buffalo Bills is still set to go down today. For today's episode, we're talking about the 4 standouts in training camp yesterday and dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Eric Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. I want to talk about the standouts in camp yesterday. And of course, as always, we like to start off when he actually does stand out in training camp, and that's Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is starting to string together a nice set of strong practices in a row, and that's good to hear. Now, practice did start off a little bit rough again with pre-snap penalties. They got to get that. One of the things that stood out yesterday in training camp was Caleb Williams' ability to spread the ball out between multitude of different receivers. Basically every receiver that you could think of caught passes from Caleb Williams yesterday. But it's clear that Olamide Zaccheaus, Odunze, and DJ Moore are starting to separate themselves from the crowd. Not to say that Caleb Williams doesn't have really good chemistry with Cole Kmet. He's built that with Colston Loveland as well. We've heard more about with Luther Burden, with Tyson Bagent than anything, but still when it comes down to it, the pre-snap penalties did start off that, but outside of that, seems like Caleb Williams was decisive in getting the ball out, especially in the 2-minute drill. The way that he operated that 2-minute drill was really good as well. Spiked the ball with 1 second left to set up a play that would have been a field goal as well. It seems like Caleb Williams is starting to pay better attention and execute in the details a little bit more than what he's done in the past, and that's the big thing here. You're going to need that attention to details, especially in the Ben Johnson's offense. And so Caleb Williams growing in those areas is going to be important to see. Now, we do know that Caleb Williams is going to be playing as with the rest of the starters in Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to see what that looks like in live action sooner rather than later, and to see how those attention to details may help that team in that preseason game. Keep in mind, temper your expectations. The starters are probably not going to play a huge amount of snaps in the second preseason game, but it's definitely going to be more because we didn't see them basically at all, most of the starters in the first preseason game. You're going to have a big opportunity for Caleb Williams to really show that he's starting to command that offense. Now, the pre-snap penalties definitely need to get in order, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to and see how they're operating in that. With that said, one of the receivers also did stand out as well, and that's Odunze. And the thing with Rome is that it's his route running that's really an understanding how to run those routes in this scheme. And, it's not a slight. Not every wide receiver needs to be an amazing route runner to be an effective wide receiver. And Odunze wasn't the best route runner last year. Now, it seems like he's starting to understand how to better execute the routes that and a multitude of different routes in this offense, and that's important. We knew that the route trees last year under Luke Getsy were not the best. They weren't creative at all in most ways. Luke Getsy, Shane Waldron, almost the same person. It wasn't the best. So hearing the growth is happening in those areas is really good. And so according to Greg Braggs as well, the middle of the field was open for Caleb Williams and Odunze, and they connected in the middle of the field. That's been another area of growth needed for Caleb Williams, is attacking the middle of the field. So hearing that those things are happening as well with Caleb Williams and Odunze's chemistry being built in that as well, it's good. It's good to see that. And we're starting to get a feel over exactly who Caleb Williams' number one wide receiver is probably going to be. And Courtney Cronin, for this matter, said this: Odunze with 2 third-down grabs, including a third and long caught inbounds to set up the team to spike with 1 second left. Both days to move the offense down the field. Both plays to move the offense down the field. So it seems like Odunze is starting to become one of Caleb Williams' favorite weapons, and that's why we drafted them together, right? That's part of the reason when you spent the draft capital to get Odunze and Caleb Williams in the same draft. That's why, right? And so that's really good when it came down to it. Herb Howard said this: you can go ahead and book Odunze for 1,000 yards right now. He actually may buy that into the 1,200 to 1,300 range. His chemistry with Caleb is undeniable, and Caleb looks to him early and often, especially in crucial situations. Rome has been the picture of consistency and dependability. So, I mean, if that ends up being the case, if Odunze turns in to Caleb Williams' favorite weapon this season. Hats off to him. More power to him. Great. And so let's hope that continues to happen. And we're seeing these two players really grow together. And again, that was the point of it. Another standout in practice yesterday was Josh Blackwell, with Jaylon Johnson still being hurt and us having injuries throughout that, right? Kyler Gordon also having a hamstring injury as well. Josh Blackwell has been somebody who's been getting more and more opportunities and really thriving within those opportunities, right? So, we've heard of Antwaan Wright, now Josh Blackwell. These defensive backs are really stepping up because they understand what Dennis Allen is asking from them and the opportunity that's going to be in front of them if they play well under Dennis Allen. And that's one of the most important things. Josh Blackwell in 11 on 11s absolutely was given some work there, him and Nick McLeod when it came down to it. So that's good to hear. That the growth from that in those areas. And so overall, Josh Blackwell reportedly gave some work to Tyson Bagent, made his job difficult on him. He threw a pick to Josh Blackwell as well during the final portion of practice. So Josh Blackwell, taking advantage and doing some things in the right situation is going to be good for him. We've already heard that he's going to be a problem for people in special teams. Richard Hightower has talked very promisingly about him with the special teams aspect of it. But Josh Blackwell making his name known for him, and he's going to get an opportunity on Sunday as well for the Chicago Bears in that preseason game. So we'll see how it's going to happen. And then Darnell Wright, man. Listen, shout out to Evie, I believe, who's been asking about Darnell Wright and what his status is. Well, it looks like Darnell Wright, who got back on the field, which is really good, right? He had a special drill at the end of practice as well, where he was actually doing some offensive things when it came down to it. But overall, he's been going up against Montez Sweat, and for what it's worth, Darnell Wright has been playing really good. Now, in that one drill where Darnell Wright was acting as a wide receiver on a slant on inside of Montez Sweat, he gave Montez a little bit of work there in that drill where they were just having fun. But it's good to see Darnell Wright back on the football field. And it's good to see, despite what some of the questions were with injuries that we've dealt with, throughout this, Darnell Wright is a guy that is going to be important for this Bears team. And Dan Rouchar as well is a huge part of why you can feel some confidence in these offensive linemen really growing. When you hear things like Theo Benedict stepping out and what we've heard about him over the last couple of practices and him getting opportunities with the starting unit and stuff like that, even so much that he could have maybe passed up Braxton Jones on the depth chart. Like, Dan Rouchar is a huge part of that. And I don't think we should overlook the importance of that. And that's why the Bears brought him in here. When you get somebody who is as loved as Dan Rouchar and as respected as Dan Rouchar in here to help one of your position groups that has been the weakest for you, that has been a weak part of Ryan Poles identifying talent in that offensive line, that development hasn't necessarily been the thing. One of the things coming into the season that I said is that I'm going to trust Dan Rouchar and the evaluation of this offensive line, especially with Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, Aji Shapiro, Luke Newman, right? Those guys are going to be really important. I didn't even mention, I'm not even going to front run and act like at the beginning of the season I mentioned Theo Benedict. I think I did mention when I talked about depth, like how much he could step up and provide some depth, but I wasn't expecting this. And so a lot of that goes down to what Dan Rouchar is bringing to these players and what it is. And so we'll see what happens here. And we got to continue that and set the standard for this team and where we're trying to go as a team. And hopefully we're going to continue to do that, man. And overall, we'll see. We'll see. Now, one of the things that also stood out that I think many people should know is that Antoine Randle, the fact that he's bringing so much honesty to this as the wide receivers coach, I think is going to be important for this group as well. The experience that he has when it comes down to it. Also, he's already somebody who's a proven motivator when it comes down to that. There was a clip that's going around of him and talking about his conversations with DJ Moore, and he basically said this, right? Consistently making the playoffs and playing at a high level. It's about using your knowledge as a top receiver to show others on the roster how it's done. Don't just be good at catching passes, be a leader. And that's the challenge that Antwaan Randle has laid out here for DJ Moore. It's not just about catching passes. It's about going out there and being a leader. And DJ Moore is in that position to be a leader in that wide receiver room. And, he's had a good training camp also, which is really good to hear. And DJ Moore stepping into that leadership is going to be hugely important for the identity of who the Chicago Bears team can be next season. And hopefully that continues to grow and develop as well. There's no doubt about it that DJ Moore's had success, right? The individually success. And I think what Antoine Randle is laying out here for DJ Moore is like, it's not just about you. It's not just about the individual success. It's not about that. You've had one playoff game in your career. It's about being and doing what it takes to get a winning team out there on the field. And that's what it seems like this coaching staff, this organization is really finally about, is doing what it takes to win as an organization. And I say this, even Antwaan Randle calling out DJ Moore in that sense, that's that leadership that we've been missing from a coaching staff. That's that standard setting that we've been missing as a coaching staff. And so when you look at who Antwaan Randle played under, right? Bill Cowher. Like, let's just be clear there. So the expectations are high. And Antwaan Randle is going to be part of that coaching staff that sets that expectation for the Bears. And let's see if they can live up to it. Let's see. But with that said, it is Friday. That means it is Mailbag Day. Let's get into these voicemails, man. This one's from Chris Evans.
Hey, CBC. It's Chris Evans. I ain't called in a while. I've been working a lot, putting in 50-plus hours a week. So, I'm finally back at it. And I just had to reach out on this Monday morning to give my thoughts on the game. Honestly, it's a few players I want to give like some shout-outs to I think was really the biggest highlights for me. The first one is called Manungai. I didn't watch a whole lot of his college tape. I knew some of his stats. I think they showed up on TV was 600 receiving yards and 1600 yards rushing his senior year. And I know that y'all was talking all summer talking about he never dropped the ball. I finally saw this kid run. He run like a dog. He run mean. It's weird. Like, he got a little bit of that patience, but when he find that gap or when he's in zone, he running. It's like he runs quick, not fast, but quick, but he runs tough and he's shaking tackles, which is dope. Of course, that second string receiver Alexander with the double toe tap, that was really good. Luther Burden, he had a couple drops, but when his mind is in the game, he made a couple catches, ran a good route, and most importantly, was able to stop the clock and get us in field goal range. Cairo Santo, Chicago legend. I don't care what C-Dub say. I'm gonna buy me a Cairo Santo jersey because this man has kept us in a lot of games. And I know it's preseason. I know this, but we had a lot of highlights, especially with, one thing I will say that's kind of bad we got to work on is the false start. If we work on, the pre-snap penalties, we should be able to be competitive. And if we stay competitive, we can get to the wild card. We can get 9-8. We can maybe get 10-7, But we got to get ready for the later half of the first half, which we're talking about Bengals and Ravens back to back. So let me know what y'all think. What were y'all highlights as far as players? But those are my players, Carl Manungai, Alexander, and Luther Burton. See y'all later.
Carl Manungai is standing out. And like you said, not everything's perfect. And I love that you can honestly review everything with Carl Manungai. Like, he is standing out there, and he has some things that he can, like, he missed some blocks that he can pick up on, things like that. But Carl Manungai is in a position where he's playing with house money. You're a 7th-round pick. Now, everybody expects a 7th-round pick to contribute, much less contribute in their rookie year. Now, some could say that that's more of a statement about where the Chicago Bears running back room is, but I think this, like, he's taking the most of the opportunity with Roschon Johnson being out. I mean, Roschon Johnson out with another injury. It's nothing new there, unfortunately. So he's taking advantage of that opportunity and taking that to the next level. That's all you can do, really. That's all in his control, and Carl Manungai's taking care of that. As far as Cario Santos, yes, he's great. C-dubs hate on kickers. It is what it is. That's just a C-dub-ism, right? But, it's really good when you happen. And then I think lastly, like what you said about the pre-snap errors, we got to get that down. And I think if we get that down as the season goes on, before the regular season starts, that's going to be important. We got to get those pre-snap errors down. You cannot be an efficient offense with that many pre-snap errors. You just can't. As far as getting to the wild card, we'll see. I'm not, this is a season I've said multiple times. I'm not letting my excitement turn into expectation. And we're just going to wait to see how it shakes out on the football field. Once we see it on the field, we'll be able to review it and see what happens there. But all right, let's get into the next voicemail, man. This one's from Tyrese.
What up, though? What's up, Side-Town Bears Central? This your boy, man. This Tyrese. Anyway, let me just tell y'all something real quick, man. Austin Booker, yeah, he played kind of almost lights out football because there was a few plays that he could have made, that he should have made, and he will make. One thing about it is, in year 4, Austin Booker will be better than Montez Sweat because the boy's still young. I think he, 22, 23, like the third youngest player on the team. With all this untapped potential, I know one of the guys on there, I think it's C-Dub, one of them whoever called him almost Booker, I don't think he realized how raw he was coming up out of college, and how young he was when he came out. And just to try to help put a little enlightenment on that, dude is he's still kind of raw, and he's still learning the position, and and he's gaining muscle every year. Man, I'll say in 2 more years, we gonna have had the steal of the draft. So we gonna get ready to have to pay that boy in 2 years because Austin Booker will be better than Montez Sweat. Mark my word. Anyway, man, it just feels good to be able to call in and talk to you guys again. This summer kind of been, but hey, we back to Bears football, baby. Downtown up, down.
Austin Booker making big plays is going to be important. Coming off the bench is going to be important to be able to keep up that pressure because, last season, even with Montez sometimes on the field, but once Montez was off the field, we didn't bring it consistently. We're going to have to bring it. That's why I said Dio is an important part of that. Odunze, he's a huge important part of that, as well as what we bring from the interior. Austin Booker, Daniel Hardy, these guys have to bring it. I think we'll see what happens with that one, right? Now, as far as saying that Austin Booker is going to be better than Montez Sweat, it's a reach, my boy. That's a reach as it stands right now. He has a lot to show before we can consistently say that. But, I mean, if he gets there, great. I don't think any Bears fan is going to be mad at it if Austin Booker hits that. I'm just going to wait to see it until we crown him, right? Like, that's the thing there. But he has all the potential in the world. That's why the Bears drafted him. Even after they drafted him, people talked about him that he could have gone a round or 2 earlier. It was just raw. And the Bears could have got the one there. And we just got to see how that's going to develop for him and for this team. But Austin Booker is a guy to really look out for. And I think that he has the mindset, he has the coaching staff now that's going to put him in the right position. And we're going to see what's going to happen there with Austin Booker. He's going to have a great opportunity ahead of him. All right, let's get into this next voicemail, man. This one's from Krillo.
Hey, what's going on, Chicago Bears Central? It's your boy Krillo. Been a longtime fan over the years. We've been through our ups and our downs, but at the end of the day, still here. Just want to address a few questions. I'm very excited for the year. We're getting closer to week 1, and I can't wait to see if there's a big difference in our team this year. But just to go over a few things, I just want to ask, what is going on with Jaylon Johnson, man? Like, I know they said that he was on the injury list, and he hasn't been really playing in practice and starting or anything like that. What's the status of his injury? Is there anything serious that's going on? And I just want to know, like, will he be ready for week 1? Is he going to be able to start for us? If not, who's going to be actually in that spot? Is there anybody that's actually, giving you a good reading on someone that can take that place, be a placeholder until we can move forward when Jaylon Johnson can return? The next thing I want to know is, who do you think will be the starter as the slot receiver coming week 1? I know I've been hearing a lot of good things about Olamide Zaccheaus, and it seems like he may be in that front-running spot, but have you guys heard anything, or is there any information you can give us on what's going to happen with that position? I know we have a lot of people that are in potential for that starting spot, but will Luther Burden III be able to take that starting spot is my main question on that. And then just one last thing. Can Noah Sewell take that last linebacker spot? According to the game 1 of preseason, he performed pretty well, had some good highlights, but he's been on our team for 2 or 3 years now. Do we know what kind of player that he is? Is this type of performance enough to boost him up? Or is there somebody else? Or do we need to sign somebody? I'm just a little bit curious about that. Other than that, guys, I really appreciate you guys' content, and thank you for taking this call. At the end of the day, Side time up, bear down.
Jaylon Johnson is injured. So when he went down, they knew he was going to miss multiple weeks. I think that he's still, last that we heard, he's on pace to be cleared by week 1, but we haven't heard. That was still a few weeks ago, or a week ago or something. So we'll see what happens. But the last report that we got is that he's still expected to be ready by week 1. But with that, I mean, I think we've seen Antwaan Randle stand out. We've seen a lot of players stand out at that quarterback position. We just talked about Josh Blackwell, right? Like, and missing Jaylon Johnson and Kyler Gordon could be detrimental, especially if they're both out by week 1. Let's hope that that's not going to be the case. But we got Terrell Smith. We still got Tyreek Stevens. Like, we still got players that are going to have to step up in different ways, but we still got depth there in the corner. The cornerback, our defensive back group is still the deepest position group that we really have. And so I think that, the opportunities that people have taken to really step up in those roles has been really good. We just may have to call on them to do a little bit more than what we were expecting. So we'll see. As far as the Olamide Zaccheaus and Luther Burden, who's going to start at the slot receiver there, it's still up in air. I mean, I think that these guys are still competing. Olamide Zaccheaus has built really good chemistry with Caleb Williams. Luther Burden is a great route runner. He's been having some great practices. So I think it's still up in air. It may be by committee, it may be by matchup. I think both those guys are going to get a lot of opportunity out there, especially in Ben Johnson's offense. We just got to see how it's going to go. Noah Sewell has shown everything he needs to be the third linebacker. And, the growth that Noah Sewell, this is why, he's been here. This is now going into his 3rd season. But it's important that when you get a different set of coaching staff and a different eyes on players, how they can help a player develop. Noah Sewell really does fit the physical prototype that Dennis Allen likes for his linebackers. And he's been out there performing well in coverage, getting to the quarterback, playing in the run game. He's been really solid through what we've gotten to see so far. He's just going to have to keep bringing it home because Ruben Hippolyte hasn't looked bad either. So, the separation between those two is going to be interesting. But either way, we're going to need the depth from both of them, if that makes sense. So we'll see how that ends up going for this team. But great voicemail there. Let's get into this next one, man. This one's from Startling.
What's going on, fellas? This is Startling on the road again. Haven't talked to you guys in a minute, or sent you guys a voicemail in a minute. Love you guys, love the show. Smell football just around the corner and all that goodness. Hey, I'm with you on the fact that, hey, if Caleb is still doing pre-snap penalties and still not really getting the play calls down right when the season starts, or if it's game 2, game 3 of the season, that's a major concern. It's a major red flag. But right now, at this moment, with the installs coming in, I'm not too much worried about it. People who are worried about how many completions that are being had and have with Caleb and Tyson and Case Keenum, it completed 4 out of 15 in practice. We counting that as actual numbers for the game? Isn't practice where you're supposed to get better? Isn't practice supposed to be where, hey, this is what we are working on? Some of these irrational and erratic fans is what makes sports super difficult to fall in love with and stay and keep everything in context. That's part of the reason why I love Chicago Bears Central, is because of the fact that you guys are not irrational. You guys are very practical and also very knowledgeable on the fact, like, hey, it's not going to always look pretty when everything is first being installed. But, hey, that's what sports are. That's what they do. But anywho, that's my 2 points, my 2 cents, and all that goodness, man. Just want to let you guys know I love the intro. Will always love the intro. And, oh, by the way, y'all need to take Eberflus out the doggone intro on YouTube, man. We need somebody else, man, because he is no longer the doggone head coach of our beloved Chicago Bears. Hey, Chicago up, baby. Bear down.
they do have to get the pre-snap penalties down. I think that you have to do that. And one of the biggest things that I'm going to be looking for on Sunday against the Bills is how smooth does this offense look. That's going to be one of the biggest things that I'm looking for, because if the offense looks smooth, it's there. How much do we still smoothing out? Do we still have to do? That's going to be an important thing to watch. But fans are going to fan, bro. Like, the thing that I've learned about it is that fans don't necessarily have to be objective. The fans don't even necessarily have to be that knowledgeable on X's and O's. Fans just have to be a fan, and they're passionate, and that's what really rules them sometimes. It just is what it is. The thing that I've learned in doing this is that there are far more casual fans than there ever are fans that really dive into the depth of the game, right? How I talked to somebody, somebody left a comment on yesterday's video that was like, oh, Theo Benedict got cooked. He allowed so much pressure. And it's like, what are you watching? He didn't allow a single pressure in that game out of 29 snaps, not a single pressure, not a single snap. But that's where you go to fans. Some fans really just, they watch the game and they don't really either understand how and where things happen. They just look at the side of things, right? And it happens. The fans, fanatics, it's a thing for a reason, right? So, we'll see what happens there. Overall, it just is what it is, man. Fans, everybody has the right to fan how they're going to fan. But I think for people like us, that especially if you're watching this podcast, things like that, if you like to get into the depth, into the weeds, that's a different layer of conversation. You need to have a different level of fandom outside of just being a fan, and even just outside of watching the game on Sundays, if you really want to talk about the depth of some things. But, it is what it is. Everybody can fan how they fan, and there's no harm, no foul in that regard. All right, let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Larry.
Yo, Hayes. White boy Larry checking in. As always, love the show. If you recall, I'm the caller that is super high on Manon guy, thinking he could get into that second spot, RB2, possibly knock on the door of RB1. But I got to tell you, this last Sunday, my boy got blowed up a couple times. Actually kind of made me chuckle, because I was like, hey, welcome to the NFL, my guy. So I love it, though. He stood his ground, and he got thrown back. But it did knock the defender off his path. So, I mean, job well done. Didn't really slow him down too much, but still, it did slow him down. Other than that, I think the team as a whole played well. I liked seeing the rookies under fire. I liked what I saw. Looking forward to this week with the starters in there. But Noah Sewell, man, did that guy have a game. He had a picture-perfect peanut punch. Tillman's got to be proud of that, because that thing was beautiful. I just wish it was more midfield, because I think we might have had a better chance of possibly getting it, because it went right out of bounds. But that was really good. Also, in the presser, I like Ben kind of setting expectations and kind of hoping maybe take some of the fandom that think they're going to go, 10, 11, 12 wins, and kind of like calming them down, saying, we might stumble out of the gate, especially with these pre-snap penalties and stuff that we can't quite get right. But hey, last year we went 4-0, and then we went on a 10-game losing streak. Who knows? Maybe this year's different. We go 0-4. Got a week 5 bye week, which I think for this new coaching staff and the whole new system, honestly, is a great thing. I normally don't like the early bye weeks, but we'll see. And then Dan Richard, just loving what he's doing with this O-line. And I can't remember. I think it was him, but I think it was him. I'm not positive, so I might be talking on my ass. But somebody said, just don't count your reps. Make your reps count. And I love that philosophy, because you got to make every rep count in the practice, in the preseason, and everything. So anyway, let's hope we can put together a fantastic team and some depth. And we seem to have some guys coming out of the woodwork on depth, especially on the O-line, left tackle spot, whatnot. So, hey, shut down up, bear down.
Look, Calmanon guys made plays, and like you said, they weren't perfect. And, you called out like where he needs to grow at, and he does. And, here's what I'll say. That growth is good. The fact that we're able to talk about, because if you talk about somebody and their finished product as a rookie, that means their ceiling isn't that high. He has room that he's going to need to grow on. He's going to have to adapt to the speed and quickness of the NFL game, where you're running into people that are stronger and faster more consistently than what you do in college. And Calmanon guy has the right mindset to attack that. And I trust that Calmanon guy is going to hit on that. We just got to see how it's going to develop. Noah Sewell has improved quite a bit. You can't take away from that and what he's done. It's tangible. You can see it. And this coaching staff has really found a way, whether they just know how to use him better or they've put him in situations to force that growth, or sometimes players are just slow to grow. Maybe it was just his progression he needed to go through these 2 years, now going into year 3 to get there, and we'll see. As far as Dan Ruchar, he's one of the best pickups that the Bears made, period. I think when you look at the position group, how the offensive line has been a weakness for the Bears for so long, getting somebody of the ilk of Dan Ruchar was hugely important to the Bears really stepping into relevancy. Now, we got to see how they're going to build off of that and what Dan Ruchar does with these young guys, but you gave him a veteran crew that he can work with now, and you give it when we have a lot of young players that he can develop for the future as well. I think the future is going to be bright for the offensive line for the Chicago Bears. And a big part of that is having Dan Ruchar in this building. And I'm not mad at that at all. So we'll see how that develops as well. But that's my time for today, guys. You guys will catch me after the joint practice as well. Make sure you guys are following us at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.